Welcome to Call Me Your Crazy. I'm Kiana Lambert, and this is Call Me Your Crazy for This Crazy Life. You'll have to excuse my voice tonight. I am not feeling very well, but like they say in show business, the show must go on, so I'm going to talk about it. I am creating a course, 5 Steps to Shifting Your Reality, that's going to launch in January, and this is not a plug for that. This is to talk about why I'm creating the course, and we are going to talk about it somewhat tonight. I'm creating the course because I have seen a pattern in mankind, a pattern in human behavior where people are associating themselves with their nervous system. They're associating themselves with their brain and their spinal cord, and the way they associate themselves with it is that they bring up and ruminate about their mistakes of the past, the things that they have done since they were young, things that they have done since they were adults. I have people that I love that cannot grow, cannot move past their issues that stem from their childhood. It's like they are locked in place of their nervous system, and fear just drives them. It gives them anxiety, stress every day. It causes rumination, and they have shame and guilt. And what I've seen is that shame and guilt fracture the human spirit. They fracture us and our ability to move on, and our ability to feel, and our ability to live full and happy lives. And this has hurt me. This has hurt my family, who in turn has hurt me. This has hurt my friends, which in turn hurts me. And I have looked throughout history and throughout my parents' background and seen that the pattern continues over and over and over again. My father was abused, so he abused us. His father was abused. My mother was abused by her mother, so she abused us. And it's because we cannot take control of our behavior because we associate that with who we are. But I could see my entire childhood, I could see beneath that. I never blamed my parents for stuff. I knew that they were the way they were because of who their parents were, because they would tell me stories of what their parents did to them. And I could see the pattern from the beginning. My father only acted the way he acted because of the way that he felt about himself, subsequent to what his father told him. My ex-husband's ex-wife, she was born to a mother out of wedlock, and in Texas that was just such a no, you don't do that. And so she grew up with shame. She grew up in the poor side of town. All she wanted to do her whole life was move over to the right side of town and have the house so that she could feel better about herself. And even though she married somebody and got to that side of town, she still had the shame. It didn't matter what she did on the outside. Her daughter still grew up with that shame. And then she had a child out of wedlock. And then her daughter, we just found out, had a child out of wedlock. And wedlock doesn't matter. That's just what they call it there. But it's a pattern of behavior that continues to happen generation after generation after generation. And I'm sick of it. I am absolutely sick of it. We are not our brains. We are not our bodies, and we are not the mistakes that happened in the past because of it. We are not even bad people. People are not bad. They are the product of their environment, and we assign them a bad connotation based on behavior that happens because of their nervous system and what happened to them when they were little. We expect everyone to just buck up and get up and keep going. So we shame them when they don't get up. And that's why we have homeless people. That's why we have addiction. That's why we have all these things. And I am going to make it my life's mission to change it because I hate it. I absolutely fucking hate it. People need to know that they are not their biology. They are not their physiology. I just saw a doctor. He posted on TikTok all about how stress makes your DNA and the telomeres, which are the ends of your DNA, shorten. and shorten and shorten. So there's an X on your DNA, right? Just use that as an example. And the telomeres are the ends of these X's, and they shorten and they shorten and they shorten until the DNA cannot replicate itself. And DNA is how we make our cells. And where does stress come from? Stress comes from your nervous system. So the doctor posts this video and about it, and then he posts like, the long script on the writing part of TikTok where he's like, you need to control your nervous system, you need to regulate it. And I'm thinking to myself, I've seen all this shit. People with diabetes, people with high blood pressure, all of it, all these diseases link back to the nervous system. Whether you say, oh no, it's just the DNA. No, the DNA shortens because of stress. Stress happens because of the nervous system. And the nervous system is unregulated or continues to get stressed because of the environment that it's in. So we are in an environment where everything is really stressful. People are living paycheck to paycheck, and you've got billionaires. My husband told me tonight that at his job, he works for a healthcare system, and they usually give employees $850 to $1,000 every January. Well, they're doing away with those this year. And in the same motherfucking news release where they're talking about how they're doing away with it, they are congratulating their CEO of Advocate Health for making $25.1 million bonus. $1 million bonus. And it's the highest bonus that the CEO of Advocate Health has ever fucking received. It's absolutely garbage. Garbage that people are getting their $850 penny bonuses taken away when the CEO of Advocate Health is getting congratulated for making $25.1 million as a motherfucking bonus. And we've got people that are on the streets. We've got people that are dysregulated and they can't live because they are so stressed out. They don't have a chance to get regulated. They don't have a chance to experience joy and imagination and freedom because all they're doing is trying to find a job that makes more money or live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And I'm sick of it. I am absolutely sick of it. I read an article the other day that says, don't follow your passion. Follow and change something you hate, because that's going to give you more fuel than following just your passion. And they use Steve Jobs as an example. Steve Jobs hated the way computers worked, so he went in there to change them. Well, guess what? I am going to go in here and change it. And not from making all this noise on the outside. I'm 43 and I spent tons of time advocating and being at rallies to advocate for the people. And that doesn't work. Not for very long. So we have to go in like a virus and change it from the inside out. And that means that we, as society, as people, have to start regulating our own nervous systems despite whatever situation we are in and taking action towards changing the future. Because if enough people realize that they are dysregulated and it's causing disease, and then they're being charged for healthcare because their disease of trying to live, if enough people get together, and they already are, we can make change globally. We only need 1% of people to change before it changes 99%. And we can go into the quantum physics and all the science of that later. But for right now, we are going into this. And I'm doing 5 steps to change your reality. And each one is about the nervous system, because I've been mapping this for the last 5 years. And I got it. I got all the pieces together from mapping it, from research, from everything that I've done, and I'm putting it into a class for people to take. So, reality works through us. And so many of us feel stuck, disconnected, and anxious, like we lost ourselves somewhere along the way. And it isn't about positive thinking, because you know what? There's positive thinking and affirmations, and they've been out there this entire time for decades, and it has not changed a thing. And I've discovered why. Because your brain does not believe your positive affirmations if they are not followed by action to prove to your brain, who takes in the environment and variables in the environment to create your reality. And it doesn't matter if you change your motherfucking thoughts. I'm very passionate about this, so this is going to be quite an episode with a lot of F-bombs. But it doesn't matter if you change your thoughts. They say thoughts become your reality. They do, but not just because you're thinking of them. They become your reality because you take action from the mindset that those thoughts give you. For example, my friend is a compulsive liar and has had a compulsive lying problem because of fear his entire life. And that fear has caused him to take action and make choices because he feels bad about himself, and he has ruined people's lives because of it. And he's gone to therapy and it doesn't work, and he's done the affirmations and he's tried to do the positive thinking, but he's never taken action towards actually proving to his brain that he can do that. Your brain isn't here to keep you happy. It's here to keep you alive. And it does that by predicting danger and repeating familiar patterns. And repeating familiar patterns is the neural grooves in your brain. And that's how it creates reality. And it filters what you see in your perception and your environment based on your past experience. And your past experience creates the thoughts and the negative connotations and the negative shame and the negative self-talk, because of the things that you may have done in the past, or the way that your parents made you feel, or the way that your caregivers made you feel, or society, or a friend, or anything else. That means if your nervous system is continued living in stress, chaos, or criticism, or survival, your reality will feel small, heavy, unsafe, and hopeless, when actually nothing is wrong. This friend is a beautiful person. I have always had the ability to see beneath people's surface masks. It makes it incredibly hard for me to make friends because I can see it. And it's because I map patterns and I can see things, and I have this incredible memory, so I just can see everything. And I can see people's souls underneath it. Underneath their behavior, I can see why they're making this behavior, and I can see their dreams and their hopes and their aspirations, and how none of it lines up with their behavior because they don't feel like they have any control. It's not a personal failure. It's biology. When the nervous system is hijacked, something really important disappears. Autonomy. You stop dreaming, you stop imagining, you stop trusting yourself. Life becomes about getting through the day instead of creating something meaningful. And when you pair that with trying to make enough money to live, and just trying to focus enough on a job so you don't get fired, or you can make enough money so that you can take care of your kids, it creates stress, and you can't contribute to the meaning of life. You can't contribute and make meaning for yourself. And a lot of us are conditioned this way really early. And it's stress, pressure, criticism, instability, and living in a world that just never slows down. Because as soon as I slowed down, as soon as I stopped working and just sat with myself day after day after day for the last year, my nervous system, I could feel things again. I had imagination again. I had hopes and dreams and aspirations and things that I wanted to do, steps that I wanted to take. So the work isn't fixing yourself. You've got people out there that are like, me, come to my thing, come to my thing, come to my thing, affirmations, this, and they're teaching just one part of a whole picture that you need to do. And I want to change that. So the first step is the brain, because perception comes before behavior. Our brains are wired to look for danger, and that's normal. But when all we see is the negativity or the threat or the limitation, your system gets stuck. That's why positive self-talk feels weird at first. Not because it's fake, because it's new. And a lot of people quit because they don't feel like they can talk to themselves in the mirror, or say I love you to yourself, or say good things about to yourself. It was hard for me too. It still is hard some days. But with repetition and consistency and discipline of doing it every day, and it's literally forcing yourself to look in the mirror and stare in your eyes and say good things to yourself for just 1 minute a day. And it sounds incredibly stupid, and it sounds incredibly easy, but it's so hard when you're first starting out. because your brain is not accustomed to it. So it's just something that's new. But people look in the mirror and they can't say it and they can't do it, so they quit because it feels uncomfortable. Because part of that reason is that we live in a society where we take a pill every time something hurts. So we are not accustomed to the pain. We are not accustomed to being able to push through and do hard things. So rewiring the brain is about choosing a different consistency every single time. It's about choosing something different and going with it and doing it, not forcing it, but training it. So if we can shift our mindset around the things that we believe in and the things that we feel and say, listen, we're going to get the knowledge and we're going to get our information right, which is that your brain works a certain way, your body works a certain way, and you are not any of it. You don't go around introducing people with your brain and spinal cord and your vagus nerve in both hands and say, this is my name, nice to meet you, and let them shake your brain. No, you don't do that. You are an amalgamation of everything that you are, want to be, and dreams that you had when you were little, plus your consciousness. And that's why you have to, and everybody has to realize that the things that they've done in the past, or if it doesn't feel comfortable, it's just the brain. It's just your nervous system. And if it doesn't feel good, it's just because it's something new. If you want to do visualization, if you want to do meditation, you need to do it in your own voice. Hearing someone do guided visualization is great if you don't know how to do it yourself. But that only works temporarily. You have to start doing it yourself. Hearing your own voice matters. It changes things. Your brain vibrates to the sound of your own voice. They've done studies where your cells respond to your own voice. Your vagus nerve has nerve endings that are attached to your vocal cords. That's why humming, singing, it calms your nervous system down because it's attached to your vagus nerve, which is part of your nervous system. And it feels super awkward at first because your nervous system is stretching. And when you don't do it, when you snap back and you quit, it's usually because somebody in your head or something from your past in your head is telling you, you're not good enough. Just quit while we're ahead. It's too hard. And that is society that has entrained us that way. But it can be overcome. You can create lasting change. And you have to start with believing in yourself. Your body is constantly feeding information back to your brain. Cravings, fatigue, tensions, gut issues, they're not character flaws, they're signals. When your body doesn't feel safe, your brain cannot imagine a better future because it's too worried about surviving. So working on your nervous system isn't about restriction. It's about nourishing yourself, maintaining curiosity and not judgment, and learning to work with your body instead of fighting it. Negative self-talk to the body has a 100% failure rate. 100%. Meaning when you shame yourself, when you talk about how you shouldn't have done this, when you shouldn't have done that, and you replay negative scenarios or the things that happened, and you feel that cortisol in your body, you feel that shame in your body, it is a 100% failure rate. Meaning that everything you're doing is a waste of your time when you're doing that. You are not going to learn from it. You are only scaring your nervous system even more from taking steps to make change. It never works and it never creates lasting change. Our parents our caregivers or whoever punished us because their parents punished them. And it put them in a box, so they put you in the box. Not because they didn't love you, but because that's the only thing they know. And they didn't have the education to be able to know this is not okay. This doesn't have a success rate. Negative reinforcement has a 100% failure rate. Meaning that they screwed you up from the beginning. And on the flip side of that, that is part of this game. That is why you have to get over this. That's why and how you get to move on. Because your nervous system is the boss. It's the big boss on the game system that you are of life. and you have to get over it. That's why all the yogis and all the spiritual people say the mountain is you, because it is you. It's just your nervous system. And if we can think outside the box and say, okay, it's just our nervous system, then we can actually make room for possibility that we are more than that and that we can control it. For younger people that don't have as much, it could be harder depending on their trauma history. Less trauma, probably easier to do it. More trauma, harder to do it. If you're older and those neural pathways are in your brain and you're in your 50s and you've been doing this for so long and you have anxiety and stress and negative self-talk, it might be a little bit harder because of the time that you've had to make those neural pathway connections. But it's still achievable with consistency. Every time you show up for yourself physically, your brain learns I can change. And that belief compounds. So you have to start trusting yourself, and you have to start trusting yourself again by doing things that show your brain you are capable. And that means doing things you've never done before. If you constantly don't eat healthy, start eating healthy. It's new variables for your brain to see, and start doing it consistently so your brain knows that you are capable of doing something good and consistent for yourself. Start moving. It doesn't have to be tons of exercise. It doesn't have to be a bunch of weights. It can be 15 minutes, a little walk here or there to show your brain, yes, I can do this, to make myself feel good. I can do this because it's good for me. Not only is it good for you, but let's break down how it's good for you. When you work out, you move the interstitial fluid in your body. You move your fascia, and that's where your trauma gets stuck. That's where anxiety and stress gets stuck. When you move and you work out, your dopamine receptors get more sensitive. And dopamine is happiness. And happiness leads the way to imagination and joy and pleasure and fun. So movement is good for you. It signals to the brain good things. And if you're consistent enough, you'll start feeling better and you'll want to do it more because it feels good. And when people don't know what they want, that's okay. Sometimes they've had horrible childhoods and they've never been able to do things because their nervous system is dysregulated and they've never had a chance to dream. So in those cases, not only do you need to exercise and eat well, but you need to start taking action towards discovery. And it's not going to feel comfortable at first, especially if you're isolated and you have this nervous system that's been hurt by so many people and your heart is closed. I get it. I've been there. When you've had so much pain, it is hard to open up again because your nervous system says it's not safe to open up. It's not safe to feel. Other people are not safe. Other people don't understand me. But you have to do it anyway. And you have to be positive, and you have to rewrite those negative thoughts. Every time you hear them or feel them, you have to say good things. And validate yourself. Of course you feel that way given your experience. Of course you feel that way given what's happened to you. So you validate yourself, and then you do it anyway. And you console yourself. I know it feels tough right now, but it's okay. It's going to get easier and easier and easier. And for those who did know what they wanted to be in childhood and they don't know as adults, go back to your childhood. Start doing the things that you wanted to be when you were a kid. And you can say, oh, that's so easy whenever I have to work 2 jobs, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. No, it is not going to be easy if you have to work 2 jobs. It is not. But you are a giant. You are a powerful, powerful being having a human experience. And you may not be able to do that right now, but I guarantee you, if you show up with a positive attitude and you start rewiring yourself and showing your brain that you can show up to your 2 jobs positive and just keep telling yourself positive things and start doing what you can to have movement. In the micro movements, you go to the bathroom, you get a 15-minute break. If you work 8 hours a day, you're required to have 2 15-minute breaks and an hour lunch. If you work in EMS, even you don't get a break, they should give you a break at some point. You can eat, you can move, you can stress or stretch. You have to be intentional. And you have to start showing your brain, and you have to show up for yourself and say, you know, I'm not going to talk bad about myself today. And if I do hear it, I'm going to say, of course you feel that way given what's happened to you. And on the days where you make mistakes, you're not going to shame yourself anymore. You're going to love yourself anyway, because you realize that you are operating from your nervous system and not yourself. And then you're going to tell yourself, next time I will do better. Your brain loves novelty. New experiences expand perception. Literally, think of your life as a mathematical equation. And every experience you have is a variable in this equation. And when you have the same variables, the math equation looks the same over and over and over again. But when you start adding new experiences, you add new variables, which changes the equation. We live in a quantum simulation. Everything is based on math, so that's why I use the math metaphor. When you change the variables, you change the equation, which changes your reality and changes your life. You cannot tell me, oh, well, I have 2 jobs and I don't have any education and I'm stuck because I can't do this. Bullshit. You can look at people in the past that have come from obscurity and come all the way to the top. And you can say, oh, well, their circumstances were different. They were different, but they were still just as hard. Arnold Schwarzenegger came from Austria and came all the way here to become Mr. Universe. Mariska Hargitay, which is an actress you probably don't know because she was from the old black and white movies. Her husband came from Hungary. Hungary is still dirt poor. He came from Hungary back then in the 40s and in the 30s. And he worked his way up through determination and focus. Because we collapse reality. We collapse the quantum wave, which creates reality, with our brains and nervous system. And with his focus, he came here and also became Mr. Universe and married one of the top Hollywood actresses. You cannot tell me it's not achievable, especially when this man came from nothing. I was watching the Beatles documentary. They came from nothing. One of them lost their mom when he was a teenager. One of them didn't even have a father. One of them got sent to aunt and uncles because their parents couldn't afford to feed them. And they still got together. And when they got together, one of them couldn't even play the guitar. One of them couldn't even play the drums. But they still did it, and they kept going and going and going. And then after about 10 years, that's where they hit it. So you cannot tell me that it's not achievable, and you cannot tell me that it's not possible. And if you need to see examples, look throughout history and you will see where people have come from nothing and come from harder circumstances, and they have made it. And they have changed their lives. You may have to sacrifice cigarettes. You may have to sacrifice your vape. You may have to sacrifice things that you don't want to sacrifice because they're your coping mechanism. But you absolutely can do it. It is just your nervous system that is keeping you from imagining. It's your nervous system that is keeping you from getting a different job and believing that getting a different job that's better for you is possible. Anything is possible in this quantum reality. If you do it with enough consistency and taking small, consistent action, it builds confidence because it creates evidence for your brain, and this is where your identity starts to shift. We are in a society right now that maybe we don't have to run from lions and bears, and maybe we don't have to starve, but we are starving because our nutrition in our food is shit. It's all about capitalism and money, so it's easier to create shit food for people to eat than it is to create healthy things, because the investment is not in people, it's just in making money. And because money has such a high value, and because it creates scarcity, and because people have to work so hard and they're in this scarcity mindset and it taxes their nervous system, this value of money is all that people want. But the truth is, the only thing that they want is to feel safe, and they want to feel happy, and they want to feel loved, and they want to feel like they can express themselves and have a life. So you need to take the steps. You need to start taking the steps to changing your reality and regulating your nervous system. And you can do simple, quick things. Breathing. Most people don't like that. Whenever you say the simple thing is breathing, breathe into your belly, it activates your vagus nerve and signals to your brain that you are safe. They don't like that because it seems so simple. They want something more difficult because society and life is difficult, and you're not going to get anywhere unless you hustle, and you're not going to get anywhere unless you do the things. So breathing is too easy. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody remembers to do it, except that all the data and the science says to breathe. And it doesn't change it instantly. It gives you room for your nervous system to calm down enough for you to make a better decision, to regulate it a little bit. Meditation, visualization, talking to yourself in your own voice, all of those things are not going to work singularly. They work in conjunction with breathing and with taking the time in the space where you come to a point where you have anxiety and stress to take a moment to breathe and to choose something different than the pattern that you've always chosen. So this work isn't about becoming somebody new. It is literally about letting yourself be who you are underneath all the stress, beneath all the past mistakes, because you made them because of your nervous system. It's realizing that you are more than your brain and your spinal cord and your vagus nerve. You are not that. I bet you when you were younger, you could draw. I bet you when you were younger, your IQ was through the roof, because every single child has that ability. Their brains are like sponges. And when things happen in society, things happen in life, it creates shit upon shit upon shit upon shit that stacks on top of you. So this is about unstacking that stuff, about letting it go, about letting go the idea that you are your mistakes, that you are your past, or anything else that involves your physiology. You are not those things. You are a powerful being having an experience in this game of life. Why do you think the show is called Calm Your Crazy for this crazy life? Because it's absolutely insane that a CEO for Advocate Care can be congratulated for a $25.1 million bonus while they are simultaneously taking away the bonuses of their people of $850. Where do you think his bonus came from? So they are taking from the poor to feed the rich. That is how the game is played. And if enough of us can regulate our nervous system and enough of us can stop playing this game, we can change reality. We can change the consensus reality. Not only will it change your reality, but it will change the consensus reality. If you think that all it's going to take for you to be happy is have money, guess what? You're wrong. I made a lot of money. It did not change the stress. It only added to it, because in order to make that money, I had to work 90 hours a week. If you think being skinny is going to make you happy. My mother grew up trying every single fad diet there was, because her mother would always get on to her about being fat. So she would always get on to me about being fat. My father beat me with his belt because I was eating something out of the fridge one time, and he showed me fat, naked pictures of these dirty magazines that he would buy because he was long haul truck driver, and he would show me these obese women and tried to make me look at them so that I would not be fat. And all that did was make me fat. So I went my entire life, my mother went her entire life thinking that if she was only skinny, she would love herself and feel good enough. I lost 70 pounds. It did not make a shit bit of difference. It didn't make a shit bit of difference. The only thing was it made men try to touch me more in public and try to pick me up more in public. That's the only thing it made a difference in. But it didn't make a difference in how I felt about myself. The only thing that made a difference in how I felt about myself was that my body felt better. I felt better about myself because I was showing that my brain that I could work out, that I could eat healthy, and that I could do better things, that I could love myself by proving it. I did all these steps. These are not just steps that I just got from everywhere else. These are steps that I am putting into place from my lived experience from trying everything under the sun for the last 5 years. And this is what worked, because it combines science and outcomes that I have lived myself. I'm not going to do all this crap for just the money. People need to realize and change and know that they are capable of change, that they are capable of changing reality. And it's not just words. I have witnessed miracles. I have created miracles. I sold my house that I flipped 24 hours sight unseen to a couple that it was across the United States. They never even stepped foot in it. I had a vision. I knew it was going to happen. I did exactly what my vision gave me. And it wasn't like I had this like vision like, oh my God, like, you know, when I invented Mormonism, okay? I had an idea. I had inspiration, and it created a vision. And when I saw different things, it added to that vision. And it created this whole house that I flipped and modeled. And it sold in less than 24 hours to a couple who'd never even stepped foot in the house. You can change your life. And that's just one example among many. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you can have things happen to you. The reason that you don't have things happen to you is because your belief in yourself is outsourced to authority figures that you've had to do in your life. And you've had to work so much, and you've had to go to school and do all these things that you forced yourself to do, and you didn't like them. So you feel like you have no control. You outsourced all your power and autonomy to authority. So you cannot create the change that you want, because you don't believe you can. But as soon as you start proving to your brain that you can, and your brain starts to believe in yourself, and you start to believe in yourself, shit happens like magic. The sky opens up, the doves start to fly across the screen of your vision, and things fall into place magically. I know people that just chase, and they're constantly tired. They're constantly dysregulated. They may have money, but they're just chasing things and they still don't feel good. Who's that Friends actor that died in his hot tub? He had one of the biggest careers on the hottest TV shows in time, in this modern time. Died in his hot tub by himself. By himself. He didn't feel good. He was constantly doing drugs. He was constantly dysregulated. And it didn't matter how much he did in the external. His internal space was a mess. So if you want to change the reality that you have and simultaneously feel good about it and enjoy it and be present, then you have to do the steps. You have to take these steps to change your reality. You can breathe. Do the visualization. Talk to yourself in your own voice. Do the mirror work. Console yourself. Love yourself even on the days you make mistakes. Validate everything. No matter what you do, even if you have a bad day, you know what? That's neural pathways. That's old programming. And you got to tell yourself every day that's old programming. It is not easy, especially when you're my age, 43, and I'm still doing it. It takes consistency. It takes time. But the more that you get over that hump, the more that you get over that hill, the more worthy it is, and the more that you feel it. I cannot tell you how good it feels. I got off Effexor after being on it for 13 years. I felt nothing because I would have panic attacks and PTSD from my complex childhood trauma. And I couldn't feel. I knew there was something going on in my body, but I couldn't feel. And it stopped working after 10 years. I got off of it cold turkey. There are days where I still have the brain zaps. There are days where I have the cortisol dumps. And there are days where I cannot regulate because I am still feeling the effects of it. But less than 1% of the population has been able to do this. And I am telling you, if you need proof that you can do it, I am your proof. I am your proof. I had diabetes, high blood pressure. I had a thyroid nodule that was so huge it was sticking out of my neck. That has shrunk to almost nothing. When they did the scanning on it, there were 6 of them in there, and they were huge. I was on so many medications that I was like a fucking old person in a nursing home taking a ton of pills, and I was young. I started this in my 20s. We do not have to live this way. And I refuse to die knowing that we cannot change it. So I went on a pilgrimage. I went on a mission to figure out myself. And then once I figured out myself, because I was like, it's either this or I die, because I'm not living this way anymore. This is not living. This is surviving. And I said, I'm not going to live this way anymore. And I started doing the work. And then I saw the change. And then the change was consistent. And then I knew it was possible. And I knew it was possible for not just me, but every single person in this world. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, or what your circumstances are. If somebody from butthole England or butthole Hungary with no food, with no family, with no support system can go from being in Hungary to moving to the United States and becoming Mr. Universe or becoming one of the biggest bands of all time, then anything is possible. Have you looked at Woody Allen? We place so much emphasis on looks. Have you looked at Woody Allen? He is short, bald, and ugly. We may not agree on what's beautiful altogether, but we sure as all know what ugly is. And it does not matter. That man has created movies, has been a director. For God's sake, he married his 21-year-old ex-wife's adopted daughter, and he's still not canceled. If you can go from that to that and you can still be in the business, anything is possible. If Harvey Weinstein can screw over so many women in his career, go to prison and be found guilty and then be exonerated because the judge, a man, said that there were too many women, anything is possible. If I can do it, if you have examples of these people doing it, then you can do it. The only reason that you don't feel like you can is because your brain and spinal cord are conditioned to make you think that. And once you disconnect from the fact that you are not your brain and spinal cord, then you feel more empowered to take control over it and get something done and move towards the life that you want to. My life's mission is to express myself as a human being and to contribute what I have learned into the variables that go into the equation of life so that somebody somewhere can learn from it and they can grow from it. So I know that this was a very passionate, loud episode, but it is not going to stop being loud and passionate. When I started this show, when I started my social media, when I started my business, I really didn't know what direction I wanted, but I am passionate about this. And I will not stop being passionate about this because I am watching people that I love suffer. I love my family. I love them. And I cannot have contact with them because they are so toxic and stuck in their own mindset and hurting themselves and hurting other people. And I cannot be around that because it hurts me. But what I can do is the only thing that I can do, which is show everybody how to live because I've done it. And hope and pray that the more people that get it together and the more people that see through this and the more people that can regulate their nervous system and change their mindset and change their reality and change their life will create lasting change for everyone. I am 43. I woke up and had an NDE in 2021. I figured that is the first half of my life that is gone. So I can spend the next half creating change for myself and for others. Thank you for listening.